Teaching Glass technical seminars are an Intertech production. For instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.
Okay, let's go through and run a quick test. Okay, and what you're going to notice right away is that I've got this kind of a recorder bar that by default is going to come up on the left side of your screen. This is called the test runner. This is docked too, so what I'm testing is actually going to show up here over on the left-hand side of the screen. This screen real estate is going to be a little tight, obviously, here, but we'll do the best we can. So the first way I'm going to perform this test is I'm just going to start the test without creating this action recording, just to go through the steps of what it's like to use this tool to help guide us in completely manual tests. Okay, so my first step is going to be to launch Internet Explorer. Go ahead and launch Internet Explorer. Whether or not we set the status of each step to pass or fail is a little bit up to you. I think it's considered best practice probably to march each step explicitly, because what's going to happen later on when we finish our test, if we don't mark everything with a pass or a fail, then the tool's going to have to run through an algorithm and decide for you. So for example, all of these steps that don't have a verification, so all of these steps with an icon without the check, don't require a validation. So those are going to be assumed to have passed unless you mark it as fail. And then conversely, when you have a verification, if you don't explicitly mark this step as passed, the test is going to be assumed to have failed. If you want to keep all the guesswork out of it, it's probably best practice to go ahead and each step of the way mark your test step results. That can be done one of two ways, well, three ways, I guess. You can single click on the icon, or you can use this window control Q shortcut. That's actually the window control Q, window control W are configurable. In my estimation, you're going to get to know those shortcuts well, and you're going to use them all the time. Okay, so we've launched Internet Explorer. Now we need to navigate to our site under test. Click on the sign-in link. And I'm just hitting the window control Q each step of the way. I happen to know a username that's going to work in here. Okay, so now we're going to click on the travel link. We're going to add the escape cord to the cart. We're going to click on our final checkout. And then you'll notice that it says, okay, you need to validate that the price is $13.99. It is, in fact, $13.99, so I'm going to hit my shortcut again. And then I'm going to close the application and end my test. Now, the information that I configured Test Runner to collect during its test runs was just collected. And as a part of that collection, we're going to do a save and close, but now let's go take a look at We'll take a look at the results, and you'll notice up here that even though the close application step was not marked as completed successfully, the test was considered to have completed successfully because there was no verification associated with that final step. Okay, so now if we go and we just kind of browse through what did Test Runner do for me, it grabbed a video of what I just did. And in fact, it grabbed all of these things. It created a video recording of what I've done. I've got a couple of warnings. I've been having some troubles with something called test impact analysis. We'll talk a little bit about that later. It's grabbed a copy of the event log on the, this is actually the event log from the IIS server. It's grabbed the system information from the client that I'm executing from. So this is the actual machine I'm executing on now. It's grabbed an action log. And if you look at, if you double click and open this action log, this this is Test Runner's interpretation of what I was doing. And the cool thing about this actually is when you're doing exploratory testing and that sort of thing, and you don't want to go through sort of the pain of writing out your test steps in painful detail, what you can do is create these action logs and copy and paste the lines from the action log into your steps. We've got a handful of questions. The question is, can I use this tool to execute against things like, say, mainframe or non.NET applications? Let's say non-Microsoft applications. You can certainly use this for managing your test plans, executing manual tests and that sort of thing. What I'm not sure if you can do without, what you can't do without a third party creating some sort of an add-in for you is you won't be able to do something called creating this action recording. We're going to take a peek at that in a minute. Thus far, all I've done is went through and did a whole bunch of manually clicking and that sort of thing, and there's no reason you can't do that against any old application. Can you select NA for a step as not applicable or something like that? You can certainly skip steps, and I think when I create these recordings, you'll understand a little bit more what I mean by skipping steps. So let's go into creating this recording. One thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to mention where did all this magically collected data come from. I missed this when I was going through the planning tab. When you're going through the planning tab, if you go over to the properties, what I've done is set up, I'll call it a data collection routine. I've just named this all the marbles because I'm collecting almost everything I possibly can. But the thing you need to specify here is what type of test am I running. So I'm specifying for manual tests what I want to collect. And this roles tab, this isn't terribly interesting unless you're using the test and lab manager, because the only role I can have is my local role right now, and that's obviously somewhat limiting. But here in the data and diagnostics is where the magic of configuring what different types of data to collect during your test run happens. The types of data I can collect are the actions, so that's that kind of textual file that I opened up where you saw what the UI was actually doing. It's basically Test Runner's interpretation of what was going on. What we've got here, I'm testing against an ASP.NET application. So to be able to collect IntelliTrace and test impact, we need to set up and configure this ASP.NET client proxy. I'm also saying with each test run, I want to collect the event log. I want to collect something called IntelliTrace, which to the QA folks isn't going to mean a heck of a lot, but it's a really cool feature that if you identify a bug and you're collecting IntelliTrace information, the but you're going to assign your bug to a developer, he's going to be able to open up this bug, click on the IntelliTrace file, and it's going to bring him right into sort of this historical debugger session and bring him right to the line of code that raised the error or that sort of thing. So that's really cool. We're also grabbing system information. How much memory do I have? What version of the OS and service packs and that sort of thing. Test impact information is a super cool feature. As you're running your tests between the TFS and the build and the test runner, what it's doing is it's analyzing what lines of code are being executed and making a note of that. And what happens later on in the development side of things is that the developer can be actually changing code, and then before checking in his code, there's the ability to go through and say, okay, what tests have I just impacted by making this change? And for me, back in the development manager years, especially when we were trying to decide if we should do a hot fix or how we needed to handle a bug, I'd ask my developer the question, okay, how big is this change? How safe is the change? And all they'd have to go on is sort of a gut feel. Okay, it's in such and such a procedure that is or is not used very often and that sort of thing. And then we'd proceed and do more or less testing based on that. Well, with this feature, what you can do is say, how big is the change? You right click and you say, well, I've impacted 3 tests or I've impacted 300 tests. And I might, as a manager, be able to say, okay, you've impacted 300 tests. Find a different way to patch that up for now. And let's wait until the next release and we'll code it correctly when we've got the bandwidth to run 300 tests, that sort of thing. So test impact is a super cool feature. And then the video recorder. When you enable this option, what's happening is behind the scenes, a recording of what's going on your screen as you're running the test is happening.
For more free learning resources and to see the latest lineup of our instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.